how concerning is this latest sign of Greek military buildup in the Aegean?
I think it is a very important event from the perspective of bilateral relations because Turkey and Greece have been going through a kind of crisis loaded relationship over the last weeks and months. And this should be the latest episode of this escalation in bilateral relationship. Actually, this is also somehow paradoxical to understand because in recent years, following Turkey's improving relations with its neighbors in the Middle Eastern region, Greek Prime Minister paid a visit to Ankara and spoke to Turkish president about the possibility of having a much more cordial atmosphere in bilateral relationship. And also we know that Turkey and Greece are quite involved in the latest crisis between NATO and Russia concerning the Russian invasion of Ukraine. We also know it. So it is really difficult to understand from which particular perspective Greek decision makers, in particular Greek Prime Minister, might have decided to pay a visit to this island and saying that Greece's security has been under Turkish threat or challenges. There is no particular development on the ground that could suggest such kind of a situation. And looking to the problem from Turkish perspective, it is very clear that Greece's militarization of these islands in the agency is very much against international law that very much regulates the status of these islands. As you all know that many of those islands have been ceded to Greece after the First World War and the Second World War, and both the Lausanne Peace Agreement of 1923 and the Paris Peace Agreement of 1947 made it very clear that this island should remain demilitarized and no military facility installation should be allowed on these islands. So it is really difficult to understand because at this particular moment, Turkey and Greece occupy very important position in NATO and also concerning the latest crisis involving Russian occupation of Ukraine, relations should be in a much better position because this very much damages the internal cohesion within NATO. This creates a crisis between two important countries of NATO in southeastern Balkans, Eastern Mediterranean. This is not the kind of thing NATO requires and wants to see at this particular moment in time. So I hope this crisis comes to an end as soon as possible.
As you say, Greece and Turkey have been locked in dispute over several issues. This situation in the Aegean Sea, just one of them. What are the prospects for dialogue to de-escalate tensions between the two countries?
I think it is not that much easier to see that the two countries engages in a kind of serious dialogue to solve these problems because their perspective of what dialogue should be is quite different from each other. From Turkish perspective, these two countries should come together, sit around a common table, talk to each other bilaterally without the involvement of any other third party. But Greece's approaches dialogue is a kind of stepping stone to bring all kinds of problems in bilateral relationships to the attention of international court justice. And we also know that in the past, particularly following Turkey's declaration of a candidate country for the EU membership, the two countries had initiated a dialogue process. Representatives of two countries came together many times in the past. High-level visits took place many times in the past, but nothing came out of such kind of negotiations. So I'm not that much optimistic about the possibility of having a kind of everlasting settlement to be reached out of a kind of negotiation process that might start soon. But we have to invest in this possibility because there is no other way for Turkey and Greece to solve their problems, in particular through the employment of military power. This would be the end of NATO in Eastern Mediterranean region. This would be in very much, this would not be in the interest of both countries. This would not be in the interest of NATO as a security alliance. And this is also another question which is difficult to understand. These two countries have been members of NATO since the year of 1952. So we all expect that they should have already found a solution to their problems. So for some particular reasons, this doesn't come into existence. And let me also tell you something. which might be also somehow interested in the context of recent developments. Now, Turkey has been going through a kind of rapprochement in its foreign policy with the countries in the Middle East. Turkey has become somehow quite important in the context of NATO-Russian conflict over Ukraine. So, and Turkey is also very much important in the context of Swedish and Finnish membership in NATO. You know the reasons Turkey has been somehow demanding that these two countries need to fulfill some Turkish demands on this particular sense. So whenever attentions are being put on Turkey, whenever the need to secure cooperation with Turkey comes to the agenda of international politics, Greek decision makers take some initiatives to poison such kind of a relationship and to put some responsibility on Turkey's shoulder, particularly in the context of Greek security. Unbelievable to understand, actually.
Great to get your analysis there. Thank you very much indeed. We have to leave it there. Tarik Oguzlu there.